go. Thank you for joining me on another Novel Escape. My name is Trevon Grant, and this is a book review on The Grace of Kings by Ken Liu. Grace of Kings was a Nebula Award winner, so right off the bat you know that it has been tested and proven to be a good story, and I totally agree with those Nebula people. Man, it's really good. Now, it definitely feels as though this is something that was written by someone who is foreign, who doesn't use, it doesn't feel like he's using the whole hero's journey template of writing this book. Two, probably like the first half of the book reads like a literary novel, even though it is fantasy, right? There's like very little magic involved in this whole thing. You have a set of gods who have influence on the world, but not like a huge amount of influence. You know, when they see that the world is going too crazy, then they kind of inch it in the right direction. So that's what we got going on. We have two main characters. One's name is Kunigaru, and we have the other one who is Mata Zindu. Mata Zindu is the dude, man. He's the man's man. And Kunigaru is like another man's man, but he's more like the ladies' man, you know? But Kunigaru, alright, so he's the main character. He's our hero, I guess, if you want to say that. So he starts out as kind of like your main, he's like a trickster. He goes around and he gambles, he's living life, you know, and he's sort of like the laughing stock of his father's house, pretty much, because he doesn't have any ambition to do absolutely anything until he meets his wonderful, beautiful wife. There is a tyrant king that's on the way, or that's ruling, and there's all these rebellions going on, and then he finds himself as a leader of a rebellion, and then come to find out that he's actually really good at leading people. He's really good at getting people to like him. He's really good at just gathering people together and exploiting their different gifts and so on. He's a good leader. So our other main character, Mata Zindu, on the other hand, is not so good at leadership, but he is really good at fighting. This dude, and this is where sort of the magic part comes in, because he's almost like blessed of the gods, right? One of the main things that sets him apart from other people is that in his eyes he has two pupils, which is I can't imagine what that looks like. I don't know if they're inside each other, like one pupil inside of another, maybe, or maybe it's maybe they're side by side or something. I don't think I don't remember him describing what that looks like, but he has two pupils. He's incredibly tall, he's incredibly strong, and he's absolutely completely fearless, right? This dude is so big that like he wears horses out. To have a special war horse, and when he finally found that war horse, they were like kindred spirits, right? He has to have a sword that's bigger than anybody else. And like nobody can carry his sword how big it is, right? Dude is huge. He's like a Philistine out of the Bible. He's that big. And so eventually these two characters meet. Kunigaru and Mata Zindu meet. The two perfect pair. One's a leader, one's a fighter. One is the head, one is the sword. You know what I mean? And these two guys come together and they mount a huge rebellion against the king at that time. What's the king's name again? So they mount a rebellion against the king, and so they go forth and they defeat the king. Now this is getting into some spoiler alert situations, so I'm going to tell you right off the bat, I gave this book a 4.7 out of 5 stars. That's pretty dang high. And I will tell you why before I get into the spoiler section, right? This book focuses a lot on character, which you don't find that a lot in. You don't find that in very many fantasy and sci-fi books, mainly because in fantasy, in sci-fi, you're trying to get to that main part that says that this is fantasy and this is sci-fi. You want to get to the magic. You want to get to the huge technology. You want to get to the spaceships. You want to get to the fight. You want to get to all these cool parts. But Ken Liu takes a huge chance in taking like a good 40 to maybe to even 50% of the book to build these characters and to tell you who they are and why they're doing the things they're doing and the desires that they have within their own hearts. He takes all this time to build up these characters, so when it finally got to like the midpoint of the story, or the point where they feel like they've lost everything, you actually feel it. Like, you actually know why it matters that much to them. And it's not hard at all to put yourself in those characters' shoes and say, hey man, if I was going through the same situation, I would be struggling in this way also. So he takes the time to really build up the characters. And one of the things, I mean, the way he writes this book, again, it feels like a literary novel, you know, because literary novels are very like character based. They're very character oriented. And this book, even though it's fantasy, it feels very literary. Right, so as a result, it'll have a slower pace, which is probably the only downside to it. Like, the pacing of it was a little slower. It took a little time for it to get to that main plot, right? The main situation. It took a little while to get to that main area, because even, this is the spoiler now, because even when they did get to the point where, spoiler alert, please, even when they did get to the point where the king, or the main tyrant king, was defeated, I could tell, one, by the fact that the book there's still a huge amount left in the book, and two, just based on the way it was written, you could tell that the story wasn't ended. The enemy was defeated, but the story was not finished. That was so huge, right? And then, after the enemy was defeated, and because of misunderstandings in the way things occurred, because of the way the advisors to Kunigaru and the advisor to Matazindu, because of the way the advisors were, and because of the way the people around them were, it just created this misunderstanding that drove them apart, right? And then these two now, I mean, this is how crazy it is. They were so close that they considered themselves to be brothers. They would call themselves brother, right? They would call to, Kuni would call to Matazindu and say, hey, brother. He would call to him in that personal way. And it meant, and you could see that it meant something. Now, Kuni, on one hand, was willing to serve under Mata, because Mata was such a strong figure. He inspired people to fight. That's one thing he was really good at. He inspired people to fight, while Kuni inspired people to innovate. And this is how deep this thing goes. It's so deep. Man, I'm telling you. It's deep. And I love books like this, I love books like this that really get your head thinking, get your mind thinking, and not just like fill you with a bunch of, action and adventure and all this other stuff, but it really goes deep. And this book is one of those type of books. I know it's not for everybody, because it does take a bit of patience, but I think the characters are good enough to keep you interested in what you're reading. So definitely one of my favorite books. I give it a, how much did I say? 4.7? Dang, that's high. Yeah, I still give it a 4.7 out of 5 stars. Now, this is the first book. I did read the second book. The second book is Wall of Storms. Is it better? Is it better? I don't know if it's better. They're close. They're really close. Whew, close. I have to go think about that. Thank you so much for joining me on another Novel Escape. My name again is Trayvon Grant, and hopefully I should be giving you guys a little vlog look into my writing process. I've been trying to nail down my writing process, and so hopefully I can share that with you guys on this new book that I'm writing. And so thank you again for joining me. Have a wonderful day. Stay safe. Hopefully you don't have the COVID, and if you do, please keep praying, still keep the faith, and believe, because if you have a down spirit, to tell the truth, that alone can allow you, that alone can actually perpetuate and the disease and actually halt your immune system. Tell the truth. Faith actually really does help in this time. All right. So, anyways, all the best. Catch you later. God bless. Peace.